Thomas Shelby takes revenge on Finn Shelby. It often makes me wonder how the strongest men fell so miserably. Well, in this case of our very own, Thomas Shelby the loose lip certainly plays a wicked role in letting his ship sink. We want you to go a few steps down your memory lane. Do you remember Season's 5 shocking finale, which almost made me wish to destroy my entire furniture? Yes, the very exact moment when the gang's assassination attempt on Oswald Mosley destructively failed. Well, the Black Cat traitor might have been the Irish bookmaker Billy Grade, and please focus on the word might. He might have tipped off the IRA, but it was the very own foolish Finn who'd blabbed the plan to Big Mouth Billy in the first place. Should we spin the bottle to see who more at fault was? We certainly wish Thomas Shelby had our level of patience, but with the kickstart of Season 6, he is showing us who the boss is.
Before this goes any further, please let me explain. I'll not drink it.
Initially, we did see the spark of level of understanding between Thomas and Finn. The pair had fallen into a regular habit of slobby habits at the betting shop, taking cocaine and drinking on the job. Their boozy bromance grow too close for comfort. Both broken hearts are on the verge of their breakpoints. Among all of this, we see the character building of Finn and how he was unable to understand the difference between professional and personal skills. As Thomas often said, strictly family business earlier in the series. We did see a helpless Finn prove a liability. Again, a Chinese assassin disguised herself as a sex worker to honey trap Finn and told him at gunpoint with his pants down, enabling Triad leader Brilliant Chang to demand a meeting with Tommy about his pure refined opium. This made us perceive how for the enemies Finn was relatively a weaker point than Thomas.
May I take something from my pocket, Mr. Shelby?
Now Finn's disliked new bride, not to mention, upon the benefit of Thomas, was wearing the tweed trousers in their marriage, ordering him not to partake of alcohol until after 6 p.m. Tommy, aka Thomas Shelby, strongly disapproved and further excluded his henpecked sibling by talking in Romani, a language Finn could barely understand, whereas Erasmus, Duke, Shelby was fully fluent. In the Battle of the Young Bucks, the new arrival was firmly on the ascendant, and he was about to do Tommy's banishment from the Shelby organization and family fold. While Duke proved himself these past few weeks, Finn demonstrated that he was inept, unreliable, and not to be trusted, despite his equation with the boss. This often leads one to wonder what was in Finn's mind. He can't be considered above the business law just because he had a good relationship with the boss. Still inseparable from Deceptive Billy, who at this point was going about an inside source to Boston Irish Horde manager Jack Nelson. The pair tipped up Toast Bolthouse, apparently to retrieve documents and records only to uncover bodies. Regularly, Finn and Billy regarded it as a party, an opportunity to drink the wine basement dry and welcome young ladies, as opposed to a piece of business. Taken into Tommy's and Arthur's confidence, Duke and Isaiah Jesus beat up Billy. Under command from Tommy, Isaiah and Duke got to work cleaning out Tommy's house, with the youngest Shelby brother Finn arriving with Billy to party in celebration. They ordered Finn to shoot him. If he didn't, he could walk away from this family for good. Shaken Finn showed his true colors, not just by furiously insulting Duke's mother, but by turning the gun on Isaiah and Duke. Rather than firing though, it just right-clicked. Checkmate, Finn. Take that.
Charlie Strong told me. You give Finn the gun.
As advised by Kenny Charlie Strong, Duke had emptied the first 2 chambers, enabling him to witness Finn's betrayal while remaining unscathed. His fate was sealed. Duke executed Billy, then told Finn he was excommunicated by Thomas Shelby himself. Triggered by this, Finn swears vengeance to come for him. Looking at the character construction of Finn, he was always the odd one out. He hadn't fought alongside his elder siblings in the First World War trenches, with Arthur, Tommy and Joan forging the tight band of brothers in arms, whereas they always had an inseparable bond. Their baby brother was always seen as weak and wet behind the ears. Finn lacked the ruthlessness of a true Shelby. For the first few episodes, the mystery of mute Finn became a mild obsession among the Peaky fandom. He'd been briefly glimpsed among the mourners at Polly and Ruby's funeral, but otherwise was a fringe figure. When stand-in boss Ada needed someone to accompany drug-addled Arthur to Liverpool docks, it was notable that she chose Finn's contemporary Isaiah without even seeming to consider her little brother. Even if Finn is responsible for jeopardizing the assassination, Tommy may be inclined to forgive him. Now that Tommy's death is on the horizon, Tommy will need Finn to help the family in the long term, especially as Arthur struggles with opium addiction. Finn always wanted to be more involved with the family business, but he previously felt alienated from his brothers. In Season 5, he tells Tommy that he was the brother Tommy had forgotten about. Although Tommy will now need Finn, Finn may have already given up on his brothers. Regardless, Finn will be part of the new generation that creator Stephen Wright said will be the focal point of the movie, and Peaky Blinders' final 2 episodes will prove Finn's importance to the series. On the other hand, Duke Shelby has been fully brought into the family's fold within a matter of weeks, admitting he had killed a man before he even became a member of the Blinders. The man with an orderly who refused to help his dying mom at the hospital because she was a gypsy. It turns out he was only upset about witnessing the horrific Garrett moment earlier in the series because he found it unfair, not because blood made him ill. Tommy Dolly brought out and introduced his long-lost son Duke, which caused much more of a stir, putting Finn's nose further out of the joint. Later in the episode, it was Finn who brought up the problem of Bible-resistant football referee to Arthur. Once again, someone else had to take responsibility. Finn had become a bystander rather than a problem solver. After what we learned in the finale, we can retrofit this string of snubs as deliberately sidelining someone who Tommy and his loyal lieutenants had decided wasn't steadfast enough. With regret, Finn, you're fired. Thank you for the opportunity, Lord Shelby.
By order of the Peaky fucking Blinders.
Unbeknownst to Tommy, a year or so into his and Oswald Mosley political partnership, Mosley arranged for his close friend and Nazi sympathizer Dr. Michael Halford to become Tommy's physician. For 3 years, Halford was Tommy's private doctor until the time came when Mosley and Pels decided that Tommy's time was up. Mosley, Halford, and fellow fascist Dr. Helen Rutherford conspired to convince Tommy that he was dying of an incurable disease, as a way to push him towards taking his own life. After Tommy's daughter Ruby died of tuberculosis, they faked X-ray and an urgent diagnosis of inoperable tuberculoma in the brainstem. Halford delivered the diagnosis and recommended Tommy seek a second opinion from Rutherford at St. Thomas Hospital. She kept up the lie, and from episode 4 to 6, Tommy believed he had a maximum of 18 months to live. After making the financial arrangements to look after his family, dynamiting his house, and holding a farewell banquet in the woods, Tommy went on the road alone in a wagon to prepare for his death. A month in, he flipped a coin to decide whether to shoot himself, and it came up heads. He took off his wedding ring and pocket watch and left them in the wagon with photographs of Grace, Polly, Joan, Ruby, and Lizzie and Charles, before loading a gun with a bullet engraved with his name and holding it to his head. That's when he heard Ruby's voice telling him to come outside. In a vision, Ruby told him he wasn't sick and that he needed to relight the fire. In the cinders of his campfire, Tommy saw a newspaper report on Oswald and Diana's Berlin wedding. In the photograph and on the guest list, Dr. Michael Halford and Dr. Helen Rutherford. He realized the scam and went to confront Halford, who admitted everything. When Tommy was about to kill Halford, the bell sounded at 11 o'clock. The time armistice was declared in the First World War. He let Halford live and returned to his camp, which had been set on fire on Halford's orders. Tommy watched the flames, then mounted a horse and rode away.